Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the guy that wrote too many of these intros. You have been warned. This is Random Review.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and welcome back to the review stage. It is time to take a look at another Transformer toy, and this is a particularly interesting one. And one that's really important to have as many opinions out there as possible. This is the new Stranger Things collab toy, Freakwency. And Freakwency is, while a Voyager-sized toy, kind of on the expensive side for the size. This is one of those points where I think it's really important to have as many reviews and opinions out there as possible so you can be as informed as you can about what this toy is all about and whether or not it's going to be worth the price point, or if you should risk it managing to make it to a sale aisle. Either way, it's important to have some opinions. So, for starters, I love this van mode. I absolutely do. And just spoiler alert, if you have been watching the news roundups, every time this thing comes up, I keep really glazing this because it looks so good. So I'm going to continue to here. Yeah, I love that it's an old school 80s van. We almost never get this because it's always Ratchet and Ironhide as like the quote van, even though they're based on a vanette, basically a minivan before minivans. This is a proper panel van. This is like the proper vehicle you'd use back in the 80s for, you know, your little band that went on tour, or in this case, you know, a radio station van with all your equipment in the back and such. It's pretty well rendered. It's a big, bulky vehicle, looks good all the way around. I like how it has a spot specifically for a license plate that's been painted silver. Speaking of paint, like, this is actually like a pretty extensive job. Well, let me get the rubber chicken off of the top just so you get a better look at all of this. Tampagraphs all over this place. I mean, for starters, we have a really nice shade of this muted blue. And it does have a little bit of metallic element to it. So you get that nice, like, you know, metal finish and gloss to it when you see it in person. And then you have this ridiculous amount of paint going on. So WSQK, the squawk. You have tampagraphs all over marking this thing correctly. So there you've got the eagle emblem with a lightning bolt in it, the white across the front. You have the logo for the station on the side. You've got the lines. Look at the tampagraph lines going all the way through. Every time I kind of see like, well, they didn't do the yellow stripe on Ironhide. Guess it was too complicated to get over all of those panels. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 panels of tampagraph lines, and it all came out clean and looks good to me. Yeah, silly reasons, right? On the front, Hawkins Hitmaker, which, interestingly enough, this is going to come up as like TF collab Hawk in the system or on the shelf tag. So just in case you see a tag and you're not sure what it's for because it says Hawk, that's what it says. That's what it means. But no, you got the silver on the front for the grille, this nice light blue for the headlights, Autobot emblem right there in the front, another place for a license plate, as well as the exhaust here down the side, done up in silver. Tons of paint compared to what you would normally get on a standard Transformer these days. Normal Transformers try to limit the paint as much as possible. Part of that is because of budget, part of that is because of durability. That way, like, if they try to do as much solid plastic molding as they can, that way you don't have to worry about scratching, fading, etc. You can just enjoy the toy, and the kid can bang it around left and right, ain't gonna hurt a thing. So this is actually kind of rare for them. And again, I do like the overall look. I like the feel, the size. Like, this is just a pretty special and frankly rare kind of figure for us to get. Only blemish to the vehicle mode is probably going to be the fact that the feet for the robot mode are just here, just hung down across the bottom, but that's kind of a minor detail at this point. So, this does have quite a few features, but we need to get into robot mode in order to see them, so we're going to start by undoing the back section here, getting this part out of the way. I'm going to have to pull this apart to stretch the legs out like so. Open those up so we can get access to the knees. I thought mine was misassembled in the factory because I was trying to put the knees up like that because that looked correct at first. It just didn't look like it could properly reach, like this was backwards. No, I'm just an idiot. It's one of these type of knees that goes like this, and you'll hear it click in when you press it in. I'm just silly sometimes. I'm going to go ahead and fold the foot down, wrap the top shell of the van across the leg to make it nice and solid. Go ahead and fold this foot in like so. I like to give the heel like one extra click when you position it. That way it stays in place a lot easier. Going to go do the other side now. Double hinge the knee down, click it forward, close that up, set the heel in place. There we go. Those are the legs. Everything else on this is a little bit more standard practice for a transformer. Take that rear section, the top of the vehicle mode, double hinge it out to give clearance for the arms, which are going to also double hinge. These are on ball joints, so if it pops off, don't worry, it goes right back on. I'm totally not saying that just in case I screw it up here. All right, and then you fold the shoulders down to put the grills in front. Hands are folded in here, so we unfold, close up, and then rotate into position. Doing that again on the opposite side. Fold out, fold together, rotate, bada boom. And that's going to be your robot mode. It's not a complex transformation, but it is efficient, and it does have some nice tricks to it that do make me smile. This is a satisfying figure to transform. It's just the right level of complexity and trickery to make me interested while not being over-involved. It's an intuitive transformation, and we don't get enough of those lately, so I'm quite happy with how this turned out. And I am happy with the overall look. Once again, I do still like this really muted blue. It works to give him this older look. The red helmet makes him pop a little bit. The joke in my head is these are the colors that Nexus Prime should have had. This makes him look a little bit more ancient with the muted blue. But we're not gonna harp on that toy today. It's just a weird observation. But no, size-wise, let's see. I've been using Voyager Tarn for my general size comparisons because everyone between all the retools and everything should have this mold at this point. So he comes up a little bit short for Tarn, but he is far bulkier than Tarn is. So that is where you get your Voyager scale and price point here. It's not a bad size. It is not a bad size, but it is distinctly in that Voyager category. So we're going to keep that in mind as we move on. Taking a look at the head sculpt, we do have some inspiration for being, a DJ or just a radio host in general, with the headphones making up a major detail of his helmet. Beyond that, he does just kind of have this more standard-looking Autobot design to him. Nothing overly complex. But nothing terribly boring either. I think the headphones give him just enough character to kind of push him across the line. I think what's nice about this is that the previous Stranger Thing figure felt like it was overdoing it on all of the references they crammed into the sculpt. I can remember Code Red having things like filing cabinets hidden in his sculpt as reference to things in the show, and this just kind of focuses on being a good version of the radio van from the show, and that's all it really needs to be. And it's done a pretty good job of it. So a lot of the details are carried over from the vehicle mode. I do like how the exhaust not only carries over and makes a nice detail on the arms and the forearms for the robot mode, but also has a little bit more extension toward the front, now kind of turning it into a cable design, which is kind of clever. Down to the bottom, we do have a little bit more silver and another hit of red, just kind of break up the blues and the grays, which is a nice little choice. And then in the middle, we have this fun little radio detail. We're going to explain this in a bit when we get into what else this toy can do, but first we got to go through the articulation rundown, and the articulation is as such. So, you have a ball-jointed head, has a little bit of up and down motion with all degrees of left and right. Great. You have ball joint in the shoulder, and you have enough of a cut in the kibble of the vehicle mode to still allow for a pretty good range on it. But then again, the transformation hinge is still active, so you can also raise this joint at the torso, if you so choose. You have the 360-degree bicep rotation. Carefully, don't pull the forearm apart like I just did. 90-degree elbow wrist rotation, because that is on a ball joint. The downside to articulation, no waist joint, which is a little bit weird. It's pretty standard articulation point, but we're going to see why once we get into features. So if I can raise up the hip skirt, so that gets out of the way for full universal hip articulation. Thigh rotation is 360 degrees. Down at the knee, you do have a 90-degree bend. I will admit, during transformation, I did neglect to flip down a panel that is back here. It's a very minor little bit of transformation detail. Easy to let it slip your mind like it did mine. Please do not do that, or else you will lock up the knees and you won't be able to articulate them properly. And then you do have an ankle tilt here. I guess you can use the hinge to balance the toe as well if you really need it. So yeah, all things considered, very articulated figure, with the downside just being he lacks a waist joint. And that's pretty much the only downside that we have going for him. So, beyond all of this, so good transformation, decent articulation, we need to get him up to that price point. So, for those who haven't been at the store recently, this guy here is about $20 more expensive than your standard Voyager, which is already at a ludicrous $43. And now we need to figure out where the other 20 came from. Well, part of it came from the rubber chicken. So the rubber chicken is just a running thing in the show. I will admit, I don't watch Stranger Things, but I do know that the rubber chicken is a gag in the show, as that was kind of like popular humor at the time. You can fold the handle in, so if you just want the chicken as a prop, you can do that. However, if we actually unfold it and then open up the chicken, rotate the head around, close it up, now we have his weapon accessory, which is the most ridiculous weapon I think a Transformer has ever come with. It is a literal chicken gun. So, Freakwency and his little chicken gun, which I will say the legs of the ball are ball jointed, so you can have adjustments. You want to tighten up his chicken gun so there isn't legs hanging behind it. Okay, you can pose it like that. I can fold them up so I can trident the gun if I want that. So, okay, use your imagination, play around with it, just have some fun. It's like the goofiest accessory of all time, so whatever. So, transforming weaponry, you've already got a little bit more, because that does involve assembly, engineering, etc. You'll have to account for all this. Okay, so what else? Okay, so the thing in the middle is technically not a radio, though it does resemble one. It is actually an 8-track player. And inside, we are going to have access to another Transformer in the set. So he does the sound wave thing, or probably more precisely the barricade thing, because it's not quite his no, we'll figure it out. It's his own thing. So, this is 8 tracks based on an 8-track. Okay. Odds are, if you're watching this video, you are too young to know what an 8-track is. I'm too young to know what an 8-track is. Luckily, we have Wikipedia for these things. An 8-track is what we had before audio cassettes, which is what we had before CDs, which is what we had before MP3 players, which is what we had before Spotify. This is basically 80 minutes of music on one big plastic cartridge that, funny enough, did not need to be rewound. You could just loop the entire cassette tape over and over again, and it would just play through the entire 80 minutes, and then once it hit the last song, it would already be looped back to the first song, which is actually kind of impressive for back then. It was a big plastic box, so it's not very, storage friendly, especially it's definitely not travel friendly, as in-car radios became a thing. So, yeah, they kind of fell out of favor. But we do have this little memorial for it here. So if I open this up, come on, don't be stubborn on me. We got to get this show on the road. This review is already going to be pretty long. Go ahead and fold this piece out, and then I'm going to fold this up, open that up, like so. Fold all of this down, rotate the head around like that, and then we're going to want to make sure that this section is correctly hinged. You're going to have to... So it's going to be a little bit scary on first doing, but like this hinge is going to click like that in order to give you the right range to get this in position and connect to the tail. And that is going to provide you a little Laserbeak-esque buddy for him, which is a neat little trick. I like that they threw in like a random Soundwave-esque gimmick for him. I mean, I guess it makes him a little bit more characterful. It makes him a little bit more playable, which is important. But also, yeah, when else are you going to get the chance to homage 8-tracks the same way we now homage cassette tapes with Soundwave? Now, aside from just being just like a little bird companion, he does have 3mm ports under his feet, so he can actually mount on either of the shoulders for frequency. If I get him connected without clashing with his backpack, that's a little bit of the trick here. So we'll go ahead and leave him like so. It's a little bit off shoulder, but you get the idea. Okay, so it's a neat little thing to include. I love when they actually have gimmickry like this. You don't see new characters getting like the Soundwave and Blaster trick, so it's kind of cool when they do something like that. It is also the reason why we do not have a waist joint in the toy. So, like, if I flip up the hip skirt, for instance, like, you're going to see that it's all mushroom pegged in, so there's no way to put, like, a swivel down below. And then if I open this up, you can see, like, the cavity is pretty much flush to where the hips are, meaning that there really isn't a spot here to create a swivel for the waist. Oh, that's how we lost the waist articulation. We gained a bird buddy, though. We also gained a raw chicken as a weapon. And I do want to point out, speaking of like making this sound wave, if you actually, in here, I'll make sure the legs are not in the way when I do this. You can actually like manipulate the backpack to be a little bit out of the way, and that is going to reveal that 5mm post, which is in a suspicious position because it really does mimic exactly where Soundwave's weapon would go. So it kind of makes me wonder if this mold is kind of backward compatible and intended to be some weird Soundwave, or if they decided that the Stranger Things collab at one time was going to be a Soundwave toy and then shifted gears. I mean, between that and like the squared off windshield chest, which, by the way, plays no part in the vehicle mode, it is literally just the aesthetic they went with, genuinely makes me wonder if this might have been a Soundwave at some point in production, then they switched gears, or if they are prepping it to be potentially a Soundwave down the line. It's wild speculation. We genuinely have no idea. I just find the position of that peg hole and the fact that the chicken barely fits in it as a little bit suspicious. But I will let you speculate on that. The toy itself is really, really good. Now, are you getting $63 worth of value out of it? That is entirely up to the consumer to decide. I do like the extra play value it has. I really like the level of paint it gets, which is a step above your standard Transformer. But understand you are paying for the Stranger Things license, and you are also paying for some pretty extravagant packaging for this toy as well. So all of that has to be accounted for, and all of that is the reason why it's so expensive. Me, I'm happy with the toy, would have been happier with it if it was like a little bit more reasonable. But again, this is why we do all these videos, so you can decide for yourself if it is worth the price. And I hope I helped you do that, because this is quite an investment for a standard Transformer these days. I will leave you with this. So, thank you all for watching. Yeah, if you find it on sale, get it. It's good. Now, and that's it for me for today. Thank you very much. I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.